Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This time we're going to take a deep dive into Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez.
Okay.
And I know a lot of you are probably eager to kind of explore, where this book fits in the contemporary romance landscape, its key themes.
Yeah.
And Jimenez's signature style. And just, skimming through your notes, a couple things jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah.
First, Jimenez originally wanted to burn Neil's house down.
Wow.
Talk about dramatic.
Yeah.
And second, this whole avoidant personality type thing with Emma, apparently that makes writing a love story a real challenge.
It does. It really does.
But thankfully, we've got our expert here to help us navigate all of this.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
So maybe we could start off by talking a bit about Just for the Summer, in the context of contemporary romance. What kind of expectations do readers typically bring to this genre?
Well, I think most romance readers are looking for a healthy dose of escapism, right?
I think so, yeah.
Relatable characters, a compelling love story, some steamy moments, and of course that satisfying happily ever after. But I also feel like contemporary romance has evolved beyond just fluffy fairy tales,
I agree.
Readers want depth, emotional complexity, and characters that feel real, even flawed.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered, Just for this Summer seems to deliver on all those fronts.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
So she's not afraid to dive into some heavier topics.
No, she's not.
But before we get into all that, can you give us a lay of the land?
Sure.
What's the basic premise of the story?
So at its core, Just for the Summer is about Justin, a guy dealing with a lot more than your average romantic hero.
Okay.
He unexpectedly becomes the guardian of his 3 younger siblings
Oh, wow.
after his father passes away, and his mother is incarcerated. And on top of that, he's burdened with this hilarious good luck charm curse,
Oh, no.
where every woman he dates ends up finding her soulmate immediately after they break up.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got a single dad juggling unexpected responsibilities and a reputation for being a love jinx.
Oh, my goodness.
Enter Emma, a travel nurse who's only in town for a few months, and as you mentioned, an avoidant personality type,
Right.
sparks fly. But it's definitely not love at first sight.
So not only is he suddenly thrust into single parenthood,
Yeah,
but he's also got this bizarre curse hanging over him.
I know, right?
Sounds like Jimenez really piled on the complication.
She did.
I'm picturing some serious meet-cute awkwardness.
Oh, absolutely.
How do these two even begin to connect?
Their initial interactions are a perfect example of Jimenez's signature blend of humor and heart.
Okay.
Justin is drawn to Emma's dry wit and independent spirit, while Emma is intrigued by Justin's warmth and resilience despite his chaotic life.
Okay.
Their early encounters are full of witty banter and playful teasing. But there's an underlying tension because Emma is constantly trying to keep Justin at arm's length.
Right.
Her avoidance issues are front and center from the very beginning.
So it sounds like a classic opposites attract setup
Yeah.
with a healthy dose of emotional baggage. I'm already sensing some serious chemistry, but also some potential roadblocks.
For sure.
Can you talk a bit more about Emma's avoidant personality
Yeah.
and how it impacts the dynamics of their relationship?
So Jimenez does a great job of portraying Emma's avoidance, not just as a quirk, but as a deeply ingrained coping mechanism stemming from a difficult childhood.
Right.
She spent her life moving from place to place, never allowing herself to get too close to anyone for fear of getting hurt. So when she starts developing feelings for Justin, her instinct is to push him away, to sabotage the relationship before it has a chance to blossom. It creates this push and pull dynamic that's both frustrating and incredibly compelling.
So it sounds like Emma's internal struggle
Mhm.
is just as important as the external plot.
It is.
And this avoidance thing, is that something that plays out in her interactions with other characters as well?
Yes, definitely.
Or is it mainly focused on her relationship with Justin?
It definitely impacts all of her relationships, but it's most pronounced with Justin because he represents a real threat to her carefully constructed emotional walls.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With her best friend, Maddie, she can maintain a certain level of distance and control, but Justin challenges her to be vulnerable in a way she's never experienced before.
Right.
And his warmth and persistence slowly chip away at her defenses, forcing her to confront her deepest fears.
It's fascinating how Jimenez weaves these psychological elements into a seemingly lighthearted romantic comedy.
It is.
So we've got Justin, the lovable single dad with a heart of gold, and Emma, the emotionally guarded travel nurse, with a sharp wit and a painful past. What are some of the key events that bring them closer together? What are those pivotal moments that really highlight their chemistry and emotional growth?
Well, one scene that stands out is their first date.
Okay.
It's a hilarious disaster
involving
raccoons.
Raccoons.
The broken down car, and of course the infamous Toilet King billboard.
Hold, did you say raccoons?
I did.
And Toilet King. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So picture this. Justin is driving Emma and his mom back from a night out when they come across a group of baby raccoons that need rescuing.
Oh, my gosh.
They end up with these adorable little critters nestled in their shirts.
I love it.
And amidst all the chaos, Justin and Emma share their first kiss right in front of a giant Toilet King billboard.
Toilet King. Is that some kind of local landmark?
It is.
That's funny questions.
Yes, it's a recurring motif throughout the story, representing the absurdity and unexpected turns that life throws at you. And this particular billboard happens to be owned by Justin's friend Brad, who loves to tease him about his good luck charm curse.
Oh, that's funny.
So their first kiss is not only sweet and spontaneous, but also infused with this layer of humor and awkwardness that's so characteristic of Jimenez's writing.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing how she uses humor to diffuse potentially tense or emotional moments.
She does.
And I love that the Toilet King billboard becomes this recurring symbol of their unconventional relationship.
It is.
But this is just their first date, right?
It is.
What happens next? How does their connection evolve from this point?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Their relationship isn't a smooth upward trajectory. It's full of bumps and detours as Emma grapples with her avoidance issues. And Justin tries to navigate her ever-shifting emotional landscape.
It sounds like we're just scratching the surface here. We'll have to dive deeper into those complexities in our next segment.
We will.
But before we move on, anything else about these initial encounters that stood out to you? Anything that really foreshadows the challenges and triumphs they'll face as their relationship develops?
One thing that's worth noting is that even in these early stages, we see glimpses of Emma's vulnerability beneath her tough exterior.
Oh, okay.
For example, there's a scene where Justin takes Emma and his siblings to the Mall of America, and she lets loose, having fun and connecting with the kids in a way that surprises even herself. These moments of genuine connection are what keep Justin hopeful, even when Emma's avoidance threatens to push him away.
It sounds like Justin's patience and unwavering belief in Emma are key to breaking down her walls.
Absolutely.
And the fact that she opens up around his siblings suggests that she's capable of deep connection.
Yeah.
Even if it terrifies her.
Right.
We'll be back in a moment to explore how their relationship evolves and whether Emma can overcome her fears to embrace the possibility of lasting love. Stay tuned.
It's fascinating how Jimenez uses these seemingly lighthearted moments, like the raccoon incident and the Mall of America trip, to hint at the deeper emotional currents running beneath the surface. It's like she's setting the stage for a much more complex exploration of love loss and the power of human connection.
I'm with you there. It's not just about the laughs, although there are plenty of those.
Right.
Jimenez has an knack for making you care about these characters, even when they're being incredibly frustrating.
She does.
And speaking of frustrating, we left off with Emma, starting to develop feelings for Justin, but still struggling with her avoidant tendencies.
Right.
What happens next? Does she try to run away?
She does in a way, but not in the literal sense. Remember, she's a travel nurse.
Right.
Her whole life is built around temporary assignments. And when things start to get real with Justin, her instinct is to retreat into the familiar comfort of her nomadic lifestyle.
So she uses her job as a shield, a way to keep emotional distance.
Exactly.
It makes sense, given her past. But does Justin let her get away with it?
He doesn't.
Does he just accept this temporary label?
No, he sees right through her defenses and challenges her to be honest with herself about her feelings. And this is where the setting of the story becomes really interesting.
Okay.
A significant portion of the book takes place on an island, owned by Justin's family friend, Neil.
Ah, the infamous Neil, the one Jimenez originally wanted to burn down.
Yeah,
There's some backstory here.
there is definitely some history between Neil and Justin's family, but that's a whole other deep dive.
Yeah.
What's important here is that the island becomes a sort of microcosm for Justin and Emma's relationship. It's a place where they're forced to confront their feelings, away from the distractions of everyday life.
So it sounds like this island is more than just a scenic backdrop.
Yeah.
It's almost like a character in itself, shaping the dynamics of their interactions.
Exactly.
How does being in this isolated environment impact their relationship?
It forces them to be present with each other,
Right.
to really see and understand each other. The island's remoteness strips away Emma's usual defenses.
Okay.
She can't just disappear into her work or run off to a new assignment. She's stuck with Justin, literally and figuratively.
And how does she handle that? I'm imagining a lot of tension and maybe some forced intimacy.
There's definitely tension, but also some beautiful moments of connection.
Okay.
They spend their days exploring the island, sharing stories and gradually letting down their guards. We see Emma laugh, cry, and be vulnerable in a way she never allows herself to be in the outside world.
It sounds like the island becomes a safe space for them to be their authentic selves, flaws and all that. But I'm also curious about Justin's role in all of this. He's dealing with the sudden responsibility of raising his siblings. And now he's fallen for a woman who's terrified of commitment.
Right.
How does he handle Emma's emotional complexities? Does he ever get frustrated?
He does. But he's also incredibly patient and understanding.
Okay.
He recognizes that Emma's avoidance isn't personal. It's a deeply ingrained coping mechanism. He sees the pain behind her walls, and he's determined to help her break free.
It sounds like he embodies that ideal romantic hero, supportive, empathetic, and willing to meet Emma where she is emotionally.
He does.
But does his patience ever wear thin? There has to be a point where he needs more than just glimpses of her true self.
There are definitely moments where he doubts whether she'll ever fully let him in. And there's a scene where he confronts her about her avoidance, expressing his frustration and his fear that she'll always choose distance over intimacy.
That's such a raw and relatable conflict.
It is.
I'm guessing this confrontation leads to a turning point in their relationship.
It does. It forces Emma to acknowledge the impact her behavior has on Justin and to confront the possibility that she might be pushing away the best thing that's ever happened to her.
So it's a wake-up call for Emma.
Yes.
But we know she has a lot of baggage to unpack. What are some of the specific events or revelations that occur on the island that push her towards real growth and change?
One pivotal moment is when Emma gets sick and Justin takes care of her.
Okay.
She's used to being the strong, independent one, the caregiver, but being vulnerable and allowing Justin to nurture her is a huge step for her.
Oh.
It cracks open her emotional armor and allows her to experience a level of intimacy she's never known before.
It's often in those moments of vulnerability that true connection is forged.
Right.
It's like her defenses crumble
Yeah.
when she's forced to rely on someone else. And I'm sensing a theme here. The raccoons, the Mall of America, and now this illness. Jimenez seems to use these seemingly lighthearted or chaotic events as catalysts for emotional breakthroughs.
He does.
Are there any other examples of this on the island?
Yes. There's a scene where they're caught in a sudden storm, and they have to seek shelter in an abandoned cabin.
Oh.
It's a classic romantic trope. Stranded together in a secluded location, but Jimenez uses it to create a moment of raw intimacy.
Okay.
They talk about their past, their fears, their hopes for the future, and it's a turning point for Emma. She starts to let go of her need for control, to trust Justin, and to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserves happiness.
Okay, so the island is proving to be a fertile ground for emotional growth and romantic connection. But you mentioned earlier that Justin is dealing with a lot more than just Emma's avoidance issues.
Great.
He's now a single dad to 3 kids. How does that dynamic play out on the island? Does Emma interact with his siblings?
She does, and it's a game changer for her.
Oh, wow.
Initially, she's hesitant, unsure how to navigate this new territory. But Justin's siblings, especially his younger sister Maisie, are drawn to Emma's quirky personality and her genuine kindness. And for Emma, who's never experienced the warmth and chaos of family life, this connection is both terrifying and incredibly appealing.
It's like she's getting a glimpse of a future she never thought possible. A future that includes love commitment and maybe even a family of her own.
Right.
How does this realization impact her relationship with Justin?
It intensifies her feelings for him, but it also amplifies her fears. She sees how deeply she's starting to care for him and his family, and it scares the hell out of her.
It's a classic dilemma, the pull of love versus the fear of commitment. I'm guessing this internal conflict leads to some major drama.
It does.
Okay, tell me more.
There's a scene where Emma sneaks into Justin's house late at night, and she's caught by his siblings who are fully aware of the budding romance.
Oh, no.
It's a hilarious and heartwarming moment. That forces Emma to confront the depth of her feelings and to acknowledge that she can't keep hiding from the truth.
It sounds like those kids are playing Cupid, whether they realize it or not.
They are.
So the island's brought them closer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also exposed their deepest fears and insecurities. What happens when they leave this idyllic bubble and return to the real world? Does Emma revert to her old patterns?
That's the question that hangs over the rest of the story. We've seen glimpses of Emma's capacity for love and connection, but can she sustain those feelings when faced with the pressures and uncertainties of everyday life? We'll have to delve into that in our next segment.
Okay.
But before we go, there's one more crucial aspect of the island experience that we need to discuss: Emma's encounter with Justin's mother, Christine.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Christine yet. And I know from your notes that she plays a significant role in the story,
She does.
both in terms of Justin's past and Emma's emotional journey.
Exactly.
And their interactions on the island are pivotal to understanding Emma's own complicated relationship with her mother, Amber.
Right.
But I think we'll save that discussion for our final segment.
It's a bit of a bombshell, and it's best to unpack it when we have time to really explore the implications.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. We'll be back in just a moment to uncover the secrets of Christine and Amber, and to see whether Justin and Emma can find their happily ever after despite the odds. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back, and I am ready to delve into this Christine and Amber situation.
Okay.
You mentioned it's a bit of a bombshell. And knowing Jimenez, there's probably a layer of humor mixed in with the drama.
Oh, definitely.
What happens when Emma meets Justin's mother on the island?
Well, it's not so much a meeting as a collision of personalities. Remember, Christine is currently incarcerated,
Right.
so their interactions are limited to phone calls and the occasional supervised visit. But even through these limited encounters, Jimenez paints a vivid picture of their complex dynamic.
So what's Christine like? Is she the stereotypical overbearing mother-in-law, or is there something more nuanced going on?
She's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Okay.
She's outspoken, opinionated, and fiercely protective of her children. But there's also a vulnerability to her, a sadness that stems from the mistakes she's made in the past.
It sounds like she's a multi-layered character, not just a stock villain.
Right.
And how does Emma react to her? Given Emma's own difficult relationship with her mother, Amber, I imagine there are some parallels, or maybe even some projections happening.
You're exactly right. Jimenez cleverly uses Christine as a mirror to reflect Emma's own unresolved issues with Amber. Emma initially judges Christine harshly, seeing her as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the damage a neglectful mother can inflict.
It's like she's projecting her own anger and resentment onto Christine, seeing her as a stand-in for Amber.
Exactly.
But you said their interactions are key to understanding Emma's relationship with her own mother. How so? Does Christine offer some insight into Amber's behavior?
She does, but not in a straightforward way. It's more about the unspoken parallels, the echoes of shared trauma.
Okay.
We learned that both Christine and Amber made choices that had devastating consequences for their children.
Oh, wow.
And while Christine seems to acknowledge her failings and is actively trying to make amends, Amber remains stuck in a cycle of denial and self-preservation.
It's heartbreaking to see how these generational patterns of dysfunction repeat themselves. But I'm also curious about how these revelations impact Emma's personal journey. Does she start to see her own mother in a different light?
She does, but it's a painful process. Confronting Christine's flaws forces Emma to acknowledge the possibility that maybe Amber isn't a one-dimensional villain. Maybe she's a product of her own trauma, capable of both love and deep-seated damage.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, recognizing the humanity in someone who's hurt you.
It is.
But I'm sensing a but coming. Does this newfound empathy lead to reconciliation? Does Emma try to reach out to Amber?
She does, and it's one of the most emotionally charged scenes in the book. But unfortunately, Amber is not receptive to Emma's attempts at connection. She shuts down, deflects blame, and ultimately reinforces the pain of abandonment that Emma has carried for so long.
That's devastating. It's like Emma's trying to break free from this cycle of emotional avoidance, but Amber keeps pulling her back in.
Right.
How does this rejection impact Emma's relationship with Justin?
It threatens to derail everything. Emma retreats into herself, pushing Justin away as she grapples with the fresh wound of her mother's rejection. It triggers her deepest fears about love and commitment, making her question whether she's capable of breaking free from the patterns of her past.
It makes sense that she would withdraw. It's like she's been hit with a double whammy of emotional trauma, first with Christine's revelations, and then with Amber's continued rejection. But we know from our previous deep dives that Jimenez is a master of weaving humor and heart into even the most difficult situations.
She is.
Are there any moments of lightness or hope amidst this darkness?
There are.
Okay.
Remember the Toilet King billboard?
Yeah.
It makes a reappearance at a crucial moment, reminding Emma of the joy and spontaneity she's experienced with Justin. And Justin himself is a beacon of hope. He never gives up on Emma even when she pushes him away. He understands her pain, and he patiently waits for her to find her way back to him.
It sounds like he's the anchor she needs, the steady presence that helps her weather the storm. But what about Emma? What ultimately helps her overcome this latest hurdle? What allows her to move forward?
It's a combination of things. Justin's unwavering love and support are crucial, as is her bond with his siblings.
Okay.
They offer her a sense of belonging and purpose, a glimpse of the family she's always craved. But ultimately, it's Emma's own inner strength and her growing self-awareness that allow her to choose love over fear.
It's a powerful message that even when we're deeply wounded, we have the power to choose a different path, to break free from destructive patterns and embrace the possibility of healing and happiness.
That is.
But does she actually choose Justin? Does she finally let down her walls and commit to a future with him?
She does, and it's a beautiful, hard-earned victory.
Oh, go.
She realizes that running away is no longer an option, that true love requires vulnerability and a willingness to take risks.
So after all the drama, the emotional turmoil, the raccoons, the Toilet King billboards, they finally get there happily ever after.
No, not quite. And this is where Jimenez throws a curveball that will leave readers both heartbroken and hopeful.
Okay, you've got my attention. What happens?
6 months after their reconciliation, Emma leaves Justin. She moves to South Dakota to live with her brother and work as a nurse in a small town.
Wait, what? I wasn't expecting that. Why would she leave after finally opening herself up to love and commitment? Does Jimenez offer any explanation?
Not explicitly, but we're left with the sense that Emma still has some work to do, some deep-seated fears that she needs to confront before she can fully embrace a life with Justin. Maybe it's about finding her own independence, healing the wounds of her past, or simply figuring out who she is outside of the context of a romantic relationship.
It's a bittersweet ending, but also incredibly realistic. Sometimes, even when we find the right person, our own internal struggles can sabotage the relationship.
Right.
And it's a powerful reminder that love isn't always a straight line. There can be detours, setbacks, and unexpected twists and turns. But does this mean there's no hope for Justin and Emma?
Jimenez doesn't give us a definitive answer, but the ending is open-ended, suggesting the possibility of a future reconciliation.
Okay.
We see Justin heartbroken but resolute, continuing to build a life for himself and his siblings while holding on to the hope that one day Emma might return.
So Just for the Summer ultimately leaves us with more questions than answers. It's a story that stays with you long after you turn the final page, prompting reflection on the complexities of love, the enduring impact of childhood wounds, and the courage it takes to choose vulnerability and connection even when it scares the hell out of us.
It does.
What are your final thoughts on the book?
Just for the Summer is a testament to Jimenez's ability to blend humor and heart, to tackle difficult subjects with sensitivity and grace, and to create characters that feel both flawed and deeply human. It's a story that will resonate with anyone who's ever struggled with commitment, grappled with family dynamics, or simply searched for their place in the world.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Just for the Summer. What are your takeaways? What resonated with you most about this book? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Till next time, keep diving deep.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of BookerCast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.